All right, looks like we are live right now on Facebook. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Saturday. It's a little warm out there. It's breezy at the moment. We have a good chance of rain coming overnight tonight. That is the good thing. Looks like we are going to be talking about a good chance of showers and storms arriving late tonight. I still think this line of storms could pack a punch. That's why we have a first alert weather day. You can see we have adjusted the time slightly. It is showing midnight to 7 a.m., and this is when the most impactful part of this system moves through. There might be a couple of showers still around through late morning tomorrow, but this should quickly clear on out during the afternoon tomorrow. But you want to wait a few moments, let everybody sign on board. You probably have maybe watching me with the phone in one hand and watching a football game, right? I know there's some great football on today, some incredible games. And if you're heading out to the Alabama-Tennessee game or the Auburn game this evening, maybe about, I guess the UAB game underway. If you have plans this evening, it looks like the greatest risk for storms is going to hold off until late tonight, but the wind is going to pick up, that wind out of the south. I mentioned this earlier today. If you haven't done so, double check. Make sure the inflatable pumpkin is well secure because we're going to have some gusty winds overnight. Hey, Michael and Christy. All right, I see a lot of you on here now. Mary's checking in, so yeah, we'll let everyone jump on board. All right, so let's go to some of the models. And hey, Chris. So, Saturday the 18th, we've been in an extreme drought across Alabama. Finally, we do have a good chance of rain tonight. Everybody's going to see some rain. I feel good about that. Everybody's going to see some rain. This will not end the drought, but this will be a good chance for wet weather. Already, we're seeing the conditions going downhill to the west, and you can see there are severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings right now across parts of Arkansas. There's a tornado watch. It goes from northern Louisiana all the way across Arkansas. So this system is already producing some severe weather to the west. So this system, you can tell it's definitely the first of the active systems that we'll see, going into the fall severe weather season. I guess you could say this is the beginning of the fall severe weather season, the first system up. And right now, south of Little Rock, if any of you, I have folks, follow me beyond Alabama, but if you are watching this, can we zoom in? Let me see if I can zoom in on this, get in a little bit closer. Here we go. So if you're Arkadelphia, Arkansas, oh yeah, that's a shear indicator, shear marker. This is a possible tornado moving towards Richwoods, 3:38 p.m., Gum Springs at 3:40, and Central at 3:41 Central Daylight Time, moving northeast at 33 miles per hour, 80% chance. We're looking at some large hail with this. Moving quickly, though, moving northeast at 33 miles per hour, so this will be in Gum Springs. This will be south of Little Rock. So again, I'm just zoomed in for folks that are watching me right now in Arkansas, where we have a tornado warning that is south of Little Rock. That's moving to the north. You go further north into parts of Missouri, you can see severe thunderstorm warnings. So we know that this is a system that's packing a punch. When this moves in during the overnight hours tonight, the good thing is the instability sort of wanes. It starts to decrease, and also with a drought in place, I think that's going to impact the instability across our area. But let's go back to forecast data. Let's time it all out. And you can tell the wind is picking up out of the south. And the thing is, this system has a lot of wind energy with it. Let's see if we can get some new data. There we go. All right, so we will walk through this forecast data. Yeah, a lot of wind energy. You'll notice the wind out of the south, that low-level jet starting to kick in. It's already been kind of breezy today. I noticed the difference just from 8 o'clock this morning to like midday. You could really tell that wind picked up. But you can see the flow there with the arrows out of the south. But there's 6 o'clock, still looking good. 7 o'clock, looking good. We take it on to 9 o'clock, windy evening, very mild. Here it comes around midnight. Taking into the early morning, this is some of the new data. There's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Looks like 2 to 3 a.m. pushing through Tuscaloosa in towards Birmingham. Nice little squall line here. Some solid lines still showing up in the forecast data. Gusty, damaging straight line winds is my main concern. There is a very, very low end risk for a tornado. That's not my greatest concern out of this, but if we did see a warning, you can never say zero. But the thing is, the instability backs off. Although there's a lot of wind energy, I really think the greater risk past midnight and outside of the storms, just winds in general out of the south, gusty 30, 35 miles per hour before the line gets here. And then as the line moves through, we may see some 40-plus mile per hour wind gusts and maybe some damaging wind gusts in a few areas. So that's why we have a first alert weather day let me go back here. So by 5 a.m., you can see it's past Birmingham. It's impacting Clanton, Talladega Center by 5 a.m. But notice behind the main line, there's still some leftover rain, and there might be a couple showers that may last, I mentioned, well into the morning. But there's 7 o'clock in the morning, and the worst of this, at least for a risk of any strong damaging wind gusts, the worst of this is going to be past and on out of the state there around 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's what we're seeing right now with respect to timing. Let's talk about, there's timing. Now let's talk about impacts. What are some of the impacts? Are we going to see tornadoes? Are we going to see straight line winds? What about me where I live? Well, let's go ahead and address that. And we'll head over to our impact graphic. And my main concern, I mentioned straight line winds, some isolated damaging straight line wind gusts, 20, 40 miles per hour. We mentioned brief tornado. Where could that happen? Where could we see that combination, enough instability, enough wind shear? Where could that possibly happen? And I just want to show you some of the data that shows where some of that spin or rotation could possibly happen. I want to back this up so we can get it to show up here in the data. So watch around Hamilton in areas. See right there, a little bit far northwestern areas. Data's even backed off even further, but there was a little area right here you can see showing up where there might be a little bit of potential for some weak rotation. You see right there. Let me actually move the map. That might help you out. I got a couple windows open here. There you go. So see, those are areas. That's 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll need to just watch the far northwest corner of the coverage area for possible, brief rotation. If anything, did try to develop, it wouldn't last long. Again, tornadoes are not the greatest concern tonight. It's going to be straight line winds, and I think the models also may not be handling the drought well, as I mentioned. And I do think the drought, the dry ground, and just how dry it's been, that's going to sort of work against some of that instability. So I know we walked through the timing, but once again, just kind of break it down. You can see west, central, and eastern areas. But the good thing, much needed rain, right, y'all? We're going to get some much needed rain out of this. And then we go over to the wind speed forecast, and just to show you how the winds, now this is outside of storms, gradient winds out of the south. This is before the storms get here. Winds pick up and pump in all that warm, mild air. And you can see it peaks out as that line starts to move in. Right after midnight, we could have some gusts out there, 30, 35 miles per hour. So, again, I mentioned making sure everything is well secure because we are going to have some gusty winds overnight. So, okay, let's go in here and answer some of your questions and comments. See, Kimmy said, we need rain. We sure do. Hey, Parrish, Tanya, Kevin in Asheville. And while we chat, let's just keep a watch on this radar here, some of this weather happening back across Arkansas. Tornado warning that was happening there. me see if I can get this to pop up again. There we go. So that county, that was Clark County in Arkansas. Clark County, a tornado warning until 4 o'clock. Clark County, Arkansas, Arkadelphia, possible tornado here. Also, see a severe thunderstorm warning, Nevada County in Arkansas and Lafayette County. So we're looking at Arkansas right now with some active weather, and there's the line. That's what's moving our way. Although this will become more linear with time as it moves across the Mississippi River Valley, but you can see it's still way out there. One thing I was noticing, see over South Mississippi, let's go back to Jackson, Mississippi radar. Let's see if this is something that's actually reaching the ground, because there was a chance, yeah. So we got a couple showers, you see this? Around South Mississippi. So what's going on here is we've got the south flow starting to kick in. See there? So we're getting these little pop-up showers that are showing up. So this is why you remember we had a 20% chance of rain in here. There's Tuscaloosa at the top of the screen. So again, some of these little tiny showers might try to pop up. I just can't, promise we're totally dry here this evening because of this south flow that's starting to kick in. But I'm stressing the main risk for the most impactful weather with the storms and the severe weather risk. That's going to be later on tonight. So let's go back out to where we have some of these warnings happening. We'll just kind of keep a watch on this. So first alert, parts of Arkansas, seeing tornado watch. That watch actually set to go until 8 p.m. this evening. We'll probably see another watch that extends further west, maybe includes places like Memphis. So those areas need to stay weather alert. So let's see. I was reading through some of your questions and some of your comments. Oh, let's see. Sylacauga area, Carolyn, you're looking at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Gusty winds, some heavy rain, loud rumbles moving through. Hopefully by then, storms are a little bit weaker, but certainly with some wind and rumbles, some noisemakers out there through the early morning. I'm not concerned about a major risk of tornadoes or anything like that. Just have your weather app nearby and stay weather alert overnight. The worst of this moves through early in the day. I think the same for Dora. I see who was asking about Dora. Hannah, Dora area. You'll have some gusty 30, 40 mile per hour winds around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning as this system moves through. Hey, Johnny, great to see you on here. Would there be a chance of a small tornado in Cherokee County, Piedmont area? Luke, at this point, with a system like this, you never say zero. But based on what I'm seeing, if we did have an isolated spin up, it would be north and west based on what I'm seeing right now. Mostly some gusty winds, and especially there across Cherokee, parts of Blount County. We need to watch it for some of those higher wind gusts of Etowah County moving through during the early morning. Hey, Annie, going to have some rain in Lineville, Alabama. You are very welcome, Fran. Yeah, Brenda, hopefully nothing too bad. The one silver lining in all of this, we're going to get some beneficial rain. As far as a severe weather maker, this is on the lower end of the scale. This is not a night where we're going to have long track tornadoes and many tornado warnings, anything like that. But we will have some much needed rain. But just because you don't see warnings doesn't mean a storm can be impactful and a storm system can be impactful. That's why we issue these first alert weather days. So you are very alert. You wake up in the middle of the night. We've got gusty winds, loud thunder, even 30, 40 mile per hour winds. And the kind of pattern that we've been in, all the trees are brittle, dry. We've been dealing with an extreme drought out there, so it wouldn't take much, as I've been saying throughout the week, to cause some tree damage, and it wouldn't surprise me if we did have some isolated wind damage report overnight tonight with the drought the way it's been and with these gusty winds. It's already been kind of windy today, and that's just going to pick up through this evening. Jess said, can we officially say the 90s and 80s are completely over? Well, I can say the 90s are out of here. Next week, and I first mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and the reason, when I do long range forecasts, I know on the internet there's a lot of noise when it comes to long range forecasts. You just see long range models posted as clickbait all the time. But if you see us post a long-range model, you better believe we put some thought into it. And a couple weeks ago, I was sharing how the long-range data was showing next week real fall weather. Here it comes, highs in the 70s, lows in the 40s. And the reason for that is it's that time of the year, basically. I mean, this is on average when we start to see those types of temperatures. So really, it wasn't it's really not a difficult forecast there with respect to the long range, and it looks like this is going to arrive right on time. So if you were wondering, is this going to happen, or I know some of you have reached back out, what about that cold air you were talking about? It's coming next week. In fact, Monday morning, we're going to see some upper 30s in areas to the north. I'm concerned a couple mornings we may get close to the frost point, so we need to watch, I think, early Thursday morning, and mostly that would be a concern to areas to the north, but we need to watch it there early Thursday morning perhaps for a frost threat. So we got some cold weather coming next week. Highs Monday only around 72. We're going to start out in the 40s and 30s. I call that real fall weather. So big thumbs up if you're ready for that kind of weather, because it is coming for next week. Let's see. Catherine said, I live alone. Will it be bad in the Gadsden Glencoe area? Kathy Ann, mostly what we're going to have out of this for most areas is just a lot of wind, rain, and rumbles overnight. It's certainly going to get our attention when it blows through here during the early morning hours. There'll probably be a lot of leaves in the road tomorrow morning, some tree limbs. As far as a tornado threat, that risk is very low. It's not zero, but it's very, very low. And based on what I'm seeing right now, I think straight line winds are going to be the bigger risk for this as it moves through during the overnight hours. So will it be bad? I can't ever say a definite on that, but will it certainly be impactful, get your attention overnight? Certainly. There may be a few random power outages overnight just because it's, everything's going to get blown around tonight. We haven't had a windy system like this in quite some time, and that's going to be moving through tonight. But what you are seeing right now, the seasons are changing. This is the first significant system of the fall season that's going to be moving through here tonight. We're going to have a series of fronts coming up this week. Those will not end the drought, but we will be dealing with maybe a few additional showers, but more surges of colder air on the way. And that's why I mentioned Thursday morning, I think we could see another big drop in those temperatures by early Thursday. If you're joining me and you're seeing what's going on the map, I walked through some of the timing. I'll do that once more before we sign off here. It's a Saturday afternoon. I wanted to spend some time with you. Megan's in the office. Matt was in earlier sending out a lot of updates. Megan will be in throughout the evening. She will be live on Facebook. She'll be sending out push alerts. And before you head out to the game tonight, make sure you have the WBRC weather app, because what's really cool about our app, and I mentioned this last night, a lot of apps can't do this. We have in our weather center, we can record an update just for you and send it out to you. So what we do is called geo-targeting. We can send site-specific updates. So if you're going to the game, if you're at Jordan-Hare, we're right there with you. If you get a little notification on your phone, pick it up. We'll be talking to you with an update from the Weather Center if we, have some updates to pass along and forecast updates. But usually we'll do a kickoff forecast for all the fans in the stands. We'll do halftime updates. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. But that's just another way that we keep you informed out there, especially on a day like today. There's so much going on. I know everyone's out and about. But it's a free app, WBRC First Alert Weather app. Hey, Michael and Coleman, what about Birmingham, Linda? 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on the timing. A lot of wind, rain. Can't rule out a few severe thunderstorm warnings as this moves across the state. But just tune in this morning. If you wake up, tune in overnight. We'll be on throughout the night with top and bottom of the hour updates through late evening. Jess, do I plan on doing a 2025-2026 winter weather video for this upcoming winter? Yeah, I'll do something like that. We'll work on that. I know we're talking about a La Nina season, Jess. And the thing about it is, and I often see people say, you know, there's no skill in a long range forecast. Well, there's a lot of skill these days in long range forecast because we've got much better data than we had, you know, 10, 15 years ago, and we have been able to identify patterns. And one of those patterns is La Nina, El Nino, and those are cycles. They're cyclical, and when they happen, these are water temperature changes, surface water temperature changes in the equatorial Pacific, and the ocean temperatures have a big impact on wind patterns. Ocean has a huge impact on weather in general. I mean, we wouldn't have tropical systems, right, if it wasn't for the ocean. So the oceans have a big impact on the weather, and it can redirect the upper level wind patterns across North America. So how does all that connect? Well, when the upper level wind patterns are impacted, that's storms travel through the upper level wind pattern. So it impacts the tracks of storm systems. So it's all connected. It's all interconnected. So when we talk about La Nina, we talk about different characteristics and climate patterns across the country. When we talk about El Nino, in which the waters are warmer than average in the equatorial Pacific, that can also have an impact on the weather across the southeast. With the La Nina that we're dealing with right now, typically for that, we're talking about, for us, the trend is milder winter, and we tend to trend drier. But the one caveat I always say when it comes to long-range forecasts is, yeah, the long-range pattern can say, you know, on average, you see this every day, but in the middle, you're going to have some extremes, right? You're going to have some big highs and some big lows. So that's why, you know, when we talk about long-range forecast and looking ahead with this La Nina season, there's going to be some big-time cold snaps. There will be run-ins with winter weather, even though you're talking about a milder winter. And you know, the way you view weather and temperature data can be so misleading in some cases. For example, you know, last week, a couple weeks ago, I was talking about, you know, cold air on the way. And you would see, you know, a lot of posts. There's no cold air on the way. Temperatures are above average. The Climate Prediction Center is posting temperatures above average. Well, what's the average for this time of the year? Around 77 degrees. So if it's 78, the temperature's above average. But that's certainly cooler than the 90s we were dealing with, right? So it's all how you view those temperatures. And it goes the same, you know, looking at winter outlooks and chances of snow and tropical systems. You know, you're going to have ups and downs when it comes to long-range forecasts. So if you see the forecast for the snow fans out there, I promise you, we will have some run-ins with winter weather in the months ahead. Michael Chambers, seeing anything that might come through Coleman? Yeah, Michael, we're going to have some gusty straight line winds and a line of rain and storms that's going to move through tonight. But even before the storms get there, Michael, the wind is really going to pick up this evening. I hope everyone is super cautious when it comes to avoiding burning right now. You look at the radar, oh, we got rain on the way, I can burn. No, do not burn or start any fires in this pattern, because what's going to happen tonight and this evening, I've seen this happen so many times. I've just seen this pattern happen so many times. You have dry conditions in the fall, and right before, I never will forget, we were coming out of a drought. We had the first big rainmaker one year, and a fire broke out on Oxmoor Road, and it was super windy, and it just got out of control so quickly. And when the winds are like this and the winds pick up, sometimes, you know, fires can be started by maybe a tree limb, you know, brushing up against a power line. I mean, you just never know. They can often happen. So I'm concerned, you know, with the winds picking up this evening. Hopefully everyone's, you know, super cautious out there. Hopefully we don't have any, you know, fires that kick up with the winds gusting out of the south 30, 35 miles per hour, and it's dry. So that's certainly something we don't want to see out there this evening. So the fire danger is very real. But overnight tonight, again, we'll get some much needed rain. Luke, are they going to put a tornado watch in Alabama? Luke, you know, there may be one issued late tonight that may include maybe some of our northwest counties, perhaps. I just can't I just can't guarantee that right now. We'll see how the line behaves, but if Northwest counties got included, that wouldn't surprise me. I would be surprised if the entire area got included in a tornado watch. That would really surprise me. But maybe like Marion, Winston, Lamar County, maybe included in one of those final tornado watches. But the Storm Prediction Center, they'll issue mesoscale discussions if they're going to issue a tornado watch. So just keep a watch on the Storm Prediction Center and the First Alert Weather app through this evening. Again, a watch just means conditions are favorable. It's not a guarantee, but we're telling you right now that the Northwest areas, that's where I think the conditions will be most favorable. So yeah, if we saw a watch there, it wouldn't surprise me. Stephanie Owens, what about Duncanville? Duncanville, you're going to get some rain, some heavy rain, some gusty winds and storms. Probably roll through there around 2 o'clock, 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning approaching. This line's going to move through quickly. Again, by 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, it's the worst of this is out of here, and then we have some leftover showers. Hey, friend. Hey, it's get the I'm saying it right now. Pumpkin spice. I said so many times it's not pumpkin spice weather just yet. This is pumpkin spice weather. Yeah. So, by the way, I'm at home base here today. This is not the First Alert Weather Center, as you can see. Yeah, I'm at home base, and I just wanted to pop in here on a Saturday since we have a First Alert Weather Day tonight. The entire weather team, we want to make sure you stay well informed this weekend, know what's on the way. And again, this afternoon, if you're about to leave out for some of the games, you're in fine shape right now, and you should have time to get home this evening, even after the games, before some of the worst of this moves through. Just know that late tonight, traveling late tonight, it's going to be windy. Make sure you have both hands on the steering wheel. The winds will become quite gusty out ahead of this system moving in. Hey, Gleesa in Forkland, Alabama. Glad to see Greene County in the house. So, yeah, we know Forkland. That's, you're kind of first in line, one of those areas there we watch to the south. Going to get some much needed rain, though. And great to see Jess today. And I know winter is close when I see Jess pop in. Jess is one of our biggest winter weather fans. So, Jess, we appreciate you. Lisa said it's dreary and windy in Pinson. Yeah, Lisa. Yeah, it's kind of cloudy out there. Nicole had a garage sale this morning, and we had a lot of stuff on the driveway. She's like, "Is it about to rain?" I said, "No, we're in good shape right now." But what the reason it's kind of cloudy is moisture is moving in from the south. The Gulf's open for business. So we got a south wind and something we haven't seen in a while. We actually have moisture return over Alabama, and that's what's feeding into this system. Diane, what about Jacksonville? I think I might have answered your question. Yeah, pumpkin spice. I don't know. I may have some pumpkin spice going on here. So, yeah, you're going to get some rain and storms, Cody, in Clanton later tonight. I mean, this is not going to be something, we have 3 or 4 tornado warnings in Clanton, but what you're seeing on the screen, you can see we have some severe thunderstorm warnings popping to the west. And the good thing about it is, we'll watch this line as it approaches from the west tonight, and we'll be able to tell. Just how it's behaving as it approaches. Ryan said at Dega, worried about tents. Yeah, Ryan. Last night, that's what I was talking about. This is another reason why we called First Alert Weather Day. All of our friends that are camping out at Talladega tonight, just have a plan and just know that 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, this line's going to blast on through, and winds are going to pick up. And I just want to make sure everyone, in case there's lightning, you have a shelter. You have a place to go in the event that there is lightning. You need to be in cover. And, a good place, if you're ever caught outdoors and you need shelter. I tell kids, if you're out at the Little League Park, you're out at the park, always look when it comes to seeking shelter from lightning, when it comes to seeking shelter from tornadoes, thunderstorms. Always look at your best option, the next best option. What can I do to best offer protection? And for lightning, if you're caught outdoors and you have a vehicle nearby, rather than crouch down and make yourself the smallest object, that we've always been told since elementary school, I would advise going to the vehicle, going in and rolling up the windows for lightning. I'm not saying tornadoes. Tornadoes, we need to be in. You know where you got to be for a tornado. You got to be in a storm shelter. You got to be in an interior room. But if you're somewhere overnight, you're camping at a campground, and you're in a tent, I always say if you can find, go to your vehicle, make sure you roll the windows up, and just wait it out until the lightning passes. You certainly don't want to be around trees, under trees, anything, any tall object like that, which can attract lightning. And lightning is a product of all thunderstorms. So if there's deadly cloud to ground lightning, there may not be a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, that's why, we call these first alert weather days. We don't wait on the warning. There can be lots of impacts that happen from these events and these storms that move through. Okay, Michael, so Curry's starting to get some of those stronger wind gusts, so it's starting to pick up. It's starting to pick up already. Let me go back before I wrap this up. I know y'all probably want to watch some football, right? It's 3:45, so let me flip back over here to the maps and just show you one more time. Kind of go through some of the forecast data, and we had, looks like that tornado warning has expired. That was over in Arkansas. We had a tornado warning. If you're in northern Arkansas, a reminder to follow my friend Ryan Vaughn, Region 8. Ryan does a great job. I know he's going to be keeping folks well informed there. But main time for this window is overnight, always when we're trying to sleep, right? But I promise you, we'll be watching it for you. Let us do the worrying, okay? That's what we're here for. You get some rest, enjoy your evening. Make sure you have the weather app. All right, so here it comes. There's midnight tonight, and midnight to 2 a.m. it's moving in. I'm sorry, I got a little bit of a lag in my feed here. I'm logged into the computers in the office, so just bear with me. But that is, there you go, 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. It moves through Marion County. By 2:30 in the morning, Hamilton, threat's over for us. And I say threat because if we are going to see anything severe out of this, isolated damaging wind gusts, it's going to be that initial line that pushes through, that transition zone where we go from south wind gusting 30 plus miles per hour to winds with the line. But there's the line about 2 a.m. 3 o'clock, it's moving through Tuscaloosa, it's moving through Jasper, moving into Dora and Cordova, Empire, Sipsey, approaching Graysville and Quinton and West Jefferson and all those areas. Hueytown, Pleasant Grove is not far from you around 3 o'clock in the morning. Coleman, actually it's moving across Arley and Smith Lake, Crane Hill, Bremen, Brushy Pond around 3 in the morning, pushing Utah to Greensboro around 3 in the morning. So Forkland, it's right at Forkland around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock is pushing through Newbern and Greensboro. It's pushing through Centerville and Brent, Duncanville, moving into Helena and McCalla, Bessemer, Alabaster, Hoover, right at 4 in the morning. Pushing through East Alabama. And hopefully by then this is a lot weaker. Sometimes these convective, they're called convective allowing models. Sometimes they can be over aggressive. And I still don't think the model is handling too well just how dry it's been here across the area. But you can see pushing through Blount County and Aniana about that time. Susan Moore, and by 5 a.m., looks like it really picks up some speed there in that 3 to 5 o'clock window. It just races from Aniana to Atala and Altoona, Gadsden, moving over Chandler Mountain and pushing in towards Cherokee County, their center, around 5 o'clock in the morning, Anniston. So mostly what we're going to see out of this, wind and rain, and you may hear some loud rumbles of thunder, but a lot of wind and rain is going to blast through here during the early morning hours. Again, maybe a couple of severe storms along the line. We need to watch if we see any little twists or bends in the line. If it stays like this, very linear, that's often a good sign with respect to mostly straight line winds and not tornadoes. But sometimes if you see a line like this and it starts to get some little bends, little comma heads as we call it, little little curls in there, sometimes that's where you can get a brief tornado embedded in lines like this. But hopefully we don't see any issues. I'm not expecting that central East Alabama. I'm most concerned it would be areas to the far northwest. But even though there's a lot of wind with this, if you're just now joining, I was mentioning earlier, there's a lot of wind energy, not a lot of instability the further east this goes throughout the overnight hours. So that's a good thing. All right, so we've had a lot of you tuned in, and I just appreciate all of you. Appreciate you staying weather alert and watching the weather. Just know that the team's got you covered. We have a plan for this weekend. We will not leave the office unattended, and we're going to be right there with you throughout the night. Make sure you have the weather app. Megan's there this evening. We'll have teams monitoring closely throughout the overnight hours, but we will keep you well informed. If you have any questions about the forecast, just reach out to all of us. We're all watching and keeping an eye on the weather for you, your First Alert weather team, and we'll be here for you this weekend. But hey, much needed rainfall on the way. Enjoy the evening. Enjoy the games. We got to pull through some teams this evening. So enjoy the games, everyone. Stay safe this weekend. Enjoy the chance for wet weather, and get ready. If you haven't done so, use tomorrow. It's time to go dig out the heavy jacket. You're going to need it at times next week. Some cold mornings on the way with those low temperatures down into the 40s. All right, I'm going to sign off. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.